left hollow and locked away. Once, he was a legendary hero of unwavering faith, whose great barrier and crushing strength continue to inspire admiration, even by those who fight with fists of lightning. Ultimately, his one-man crusade to confront his one-time ally, who, among whispers of forbidden research and dangerous experiments, may have become a ghostless undead whose shadow falls upon the writhing ruin of time itself. To hold back the impending dark, this great defender left his city, never to return. This is the story of that iconic champion, Dark Souls Havel the Rock. I'm just kidding. Same 14. Welcome to the Game Table Guardians. I'm Fauntus, and today we will be looking at the cultural and historic influences of Saint 14, what this tells us about his mysterious inspiration, tragic sacrifice, and the Destiny universe as a whole. But first, let's look at that name. Now, while it's not from some ancient, dead, nor constructed language, we can still narrow it down to a specific saint. We do this by drawing upon design aspects particular to Saint 14 and identifying their cultural origins. And there is no aspect more particular than the helm of Saint 14. It borrows much from the Corinthian helmet, perhaps the most popular helmet design ever. It's displayed on the armor kiosk in the tower, but Saint sports a version favored by Rome in the early days of Empire till about the 2nd century. It's fair to say that Rome sticks out as a strong cultural anchor. There's the use of the Roman numerals. Citizens were called the sons and daughters of Rome, and they referred to their spiritual leader as father. They share a belief in a savior, but there is much in Saint 14's design that specifically suggests the 1st century CE, but Rome didn't become Christian until the 4th century. Even the helmet's silver and purple coloring is pretty particular to the emperor or his Praetorian Guard. Perfect Paradox is modeled after a 1st century gladius. Not to mention the paean to Saint 14. A paean is a Greek word, a song of victory, remembrance, or thanksgiving, usually in association with Apollo. This association to a pagan deity is actually what kept paean from being a term that was adopted by the church. They instead used a different Greek word, hymn. But in the 1st century, many Romans used Greek in day-to-day life. Though, a quick aside, it's worth noting that the etymology for paean may also be related to the word for a blow, a beat, or strike, making the paean of Saint 14 the strike of Saint 14. We got ourselves a clever little classicist over at Bungie. Okay, to recap, the saint we are looking for is from the 1st century with a connection to the emperor or at least the Praetorian Guard. They have done something that people were thankful for, are associated with a savior, and the number 14. Is there such a saint? I mean, obviously, I wouldn't have gone this far in a video if there wasn't. But before we get there, let's define what a saint is. In the Roman canon, a saint is someone who has the keys to heaven. They're in heaven, and you can't get to heaven without being dead. So, if you were to look at a list of the recognized saints by the order that they got to heaven in, the 14th name would be from the year 64, the first Christian martyrs of the Roman Church. Now, Christianity had just been around for a few decades, and in the city of Rome, Emperor Nero had a problem. Nowadays, the one thing everyone seems to remember about Nero is that he played a violin or fiddle while Rome burned. So that story, it's categorically false. Violins won't be invented for like another 1500 years. But there was a fire, and everyone thought Nero did it to expand his palace. It was a PR nightmare. So, what'd the Emperor do? Run some workshops about fire safety? Clearly mark fire routes and invest in a fire brigade? Nah, he's gonna kill people, because nothing exonerates the widely held suspicion of a callous, self-serving crime against humanity quite like a callous, self-serving crime against humanity. Nero was not the sharpest of Caesars. So, the sons and daughters of that eternal shining city were persecuted by a Rome not yet Christian, and ultimately executed on the orders of their own emperor. But their sacrifice changed something. It brought sympathy, respect, and attention. Attention the modern church credits for its survival in those first chaotic centuries. So we have a group from the first century, a connection to the emperor. They did something people were thankful for, an association with a savior, and the number 14, Saint 14, the first martyrs. Okay, what? So hold on, does that mean Saint 14 is supposed to be a martyr? I mean, because I don't think the Vex killed him for his beliefs. I'm pretty sure they just wanted to stop the punching. Where does the term martyr come from? Greek. From martis, to bear witness, give testimony, which is a sworn statement based on personal experience or expertise. Persecution and death for testimony was very common in the ancient world, especially for religious, political, or philosophical topics. So common that the word martyr began to refer to any testimony that resulted in the persecution and death of the witness. The impression made by those early martyrs, it garnered sympathy. Their refusal to denounce their faith earned respect. Their sacrifice and its association to their savior helped to spread the faith and inspire conversions. Now, does Saint 14 represent those same qualities? Entirely. He is of a city, not yet of his belief. In the helm of Saint 14, Cade calls him a weirdo, and Shax defends him with eccentricity is his strength. Not the strongest of defense there, Shax. We know that he won't back down from his testimony. Sagira backs this up with,
"Nothing could stop that old exo. Probably lecturing a Vex. Titan lectures. Long speeches, occasional punching."
And those who persecuted him eventually come to respect and even venerate him.
Did the Vex learn to respect him?
This is also called inspiring the converted. Converted Vex. And never mind. So what about Saint 14's savior? Now his helm, as well as the perfect paradox, make it pretty clear that he's speaking about our guardian. But if the first Roman martyrs are truly the source of his design, and not just some crazy coincidence, there should be some evidence for it. So is there anything about those first martyrs that backs up our guardian and the connection to Saint 14? You might be surprised, but there is, and it's found on his ship, Saint 14's Gray Pigeon. Its name and design is actually in reference to a Bible verse, Psalm. Now a psalm is a song, so in case you ever wondered, a messianic psalm, which is a prophecy about what the world will be like when their Messiah or Savior arrives. Psalm 68:13. And though you sleep with the lamb in the pen, so too will you fly in the air, like the dove, silver of wing, alight with gold. Just like his ship. Now, what does this all say about destiny? First, let's contrast with another great defender, Havel the Rock, who left his city to confront his scholar. Though in the end he failed. He didn't even come close to his goal. But Havel did so because no one else would. Havel saw evil, and his faith, it was in his resolve. But Dark Souls is a world with no guarantees. Havel had the strength to live by his convictions and not accept injustice, even if that injustice has no resolution. Because success isn't measured by changing the world, because ultimately you can't. Every effect you have in the game is at best temporary. In Dark Souls, success is measured by improving yourself, having the discipline, focus, and resolve to take on any challenge. And that's why even in failure, Havel inspires. With his resolve, discipline, and faith, he more than earned the title, the Rock. Now, at the other end of the spectrum, using those same thematic elements, Saint 14 gives his last life and light for his faith, though unlike Havel, that faith has been vindicated. He is assured of the arrival of his Savior, wielding a perfect paradox that is literally proof of his faith. This reinforces the idea that the universe has a plan, and our guardian is vital to its success. It's about predetermined importance. There's another name for that.